Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of DeLorean Tech, and today we're going to show you how to change the gear oil in your DeLorean. We're going to be using the Redline synthetic 75W90. So I haven't tried the Redline before. I've heard a lot of good things about it, so I figured I'd give it a shot. So we're going to go ahead and put Redline in the car. We're going to take it for a test drive to see what sort of differences there are in the shifting, if any. So I'm really curious to find out how well this stuff works compared to the conventional gear oil for the car. It is API GL5 rated, which is required for the car per the workshop manual. If you have an automatic transmission, the tool is going to be different for taking out the drain and fill plugs. Also, you're going to use less of the oil. It's a bit of a different process, but essentially you could use the same approach for changing the final drive oil in your automatic transmission. Okay, so here's what you're going to need to replace the gear oil. So I'm going to go ahead and try this Redline synthetic 75W90NS. The NS stands for non-slip. You're also going to need a transfer pump to get the new oil into the transmission after you've drained it. And in order to remove the drain plug and the fill plug, you're also going to need this 10mm square drain plug socket. You can get these on Amazon. I'll drop a link down in the description for all of these. So according to the workshop manual, you're supposed to use a gear oil that meets the API GL5 spec. And here are the weights you can use. For an automatic transmission, you pretty much use the same thing. You just use a lot less of it. So if you look at the workshop manual, the process is very simple. It's just 6 steps. So it is actually very easy. I do want to point out that you should change this with the vehicle at operating temperature. You don't want to change it cold. It does actually say with the transmission at operating temperature here for the manual transmission service. For the automatic, it says the same thing. Oil should be changed while hot. And it's essentially the same process for the automatic. It's just that you're going to have to use a different tool for removing the drain plug and the fill plugs. Before you get started, I recommend getting the car up on jack stands all the way around. Okay, so here we are under the car, and the first thing you're going to do is locate the fill plug, which is right there, and the drain plug, which is right here. That's the drain plug, and it's not a bad idea to apply some knocker loose onto the plugs themselves, just to make sure you don't have a problem in removing them. A little bit there and a little bit right here. Let that sit for a while. So after you've had the knocker loose sit for a while, I would recommend coming in with a breaker bar to remove the drain plug and the fill plug. Also, if you're not going to be using knocker loose on this, and if you find yourself having difficulty, I would make sure that you can break the fill plug first before the drain plug, because if you drain this before you're loosening the fill plug and you can't get the fill plug out, you won't be able to get the gear oil in the car. So you want to make sure that you can loosen both of those, that you can remove both of those. In fact, I would recommend removing that first before you remove the drain plug. So I've got my breaker bar. I'm just going to go ahead and loosen the fill plug first. So once you've got it loosened up or broken, you can just use a regular ratcheting. And then I'm pretty confident that's going to come out. So with my breaker bar on here, I'm able to break it. Okay, that's probably loose enough to where I can get the other tool on. Alright, so now I've got my drain plug pretty loose. I'm going to go ahead and put my bucket underneath to collect the fluid. Now that's able to be moved by hand now, turned by hand. So I'm just going to let that sit there. So that can be removed by hand now as well. You can already see the gear oil coming out right there. It actually doesn't look too bad. So it doesn't look too dirty. It's not black or anything. So we're just gonna go ahead and let that drain. I'm probably gonna take the fill plug out too, just so it drains a little better. So it's almost emptied out. So I'm gonna go ahead and take out my fill plug now. I've also tilted the car so the front is higher than the back. Hopefully most of the oil will be able to just travel down to that low spot in the transmission and drain out that way. So the drain plug and the fill plug are the same part number, but I'm gonna go ahead and mark them anyway. That way I use the same plug for each location. So I've marked my fill plug and this is my drain plug. So the old gear oil is obviously very dirty. It's very dark and it's not terrible, but obviously needs to be replaced. The last time the gear oil was replaced, according to the records from the previous owner, was back in 2006, and that was about 18,000 miles ago. So now I have the car angled forward. So I did notice that when I did drop the front end a little bit, that some more oil was coming out. Okay, so the siphon pump that I bought comes with the pump itself and two of these clear tubes, and it's got these little kind of quick disconnects in here, so you can just push down on the white little tab right there, the white, and you just push in the tube. And that's it. So I went with this one. There's different ones you can use. There's the kind that actually screw onto the top of the bottle. Those I heard take a lot longer than these. This one just seemed a lot better. It got good reviews. It was recommended by other DeLorean owners on DMC Talk. So I went ahead and got one of these instead. So the drain and fill plugs for the transmission are tightened to 15 foot-pounds or 20 Newton meters. So once you're done draining, just go ahead and replace the drain plug. Just tighten it up by hand at first, and then we'll torque it down to factory specification. So we have our torque wrench set to 15 foot-pounds. We're going to go ahead and torque it to factory specification. And that's it. So you're only going to need about a gallon, maybe a little less than a gallon for the gearbox. Let's go ahead and move the cap, and we're going to go ahead and get our pump ready. So the lower hose is what you're going to use to pump the gear oil into the gearbox, and the upper hose, you just insert that into the jug. So just insert the lower hose into the gearbox like this. You don't want it too far out because it might come out and then you'll get gear oil all over the place. Let's go ahead and start pumping the oil into the gearbox. So just keep doing this until you've got all the oil into the gearbox. So as you're pumping the gear oil into the gearbox, you're going to want to make sure you keep your eye on this area right here. When gear oil starts to come out, that means you know you're full. Alright, so it looks like we're full. It's definitely coming out. So once you've got gear oil coming out, you can go ahead and remove the hose. Looks like it's pretty full. So just have something underneath to catch any additional gear oil that might come out. Tighten that by hand. So we have our torque wrench set to 15 foot-pounds. Go ahead and torque this down as factory specifications. That's it. So now we're done filling up the gearbox. We're gonna go ahead and take this car out for a spin. Okay, so we just put the Redline gear oil in. We're gonna go ahead and go for a test drive to see if there's any difference. Seems about the same. So far, no noticeable difference. It does feel a little bit smoother going from first to second. No change going from second to third. It's about the same. A little bit smoother. Little bit, but not a huge difference. So yeah, not a big difference. So obviously the oil I had in there was only about 18,000 miles old or used. So it wasn't like it had never been replaced before. But yeah, I'm noticing no difference at all. Which, shifting exactly the same. So overall, same performance that I had before, so no difference. I will say that it did feel a little bit smoother here and there. Obviously it's new oil, so you're gonna get that, but did it make a huge difference? Not really. So it's same level of performance that you would expect from the conventional, the GL5, API GL5, and yeah, so not bad. Kind of pricey though. Okay, well that's the video. In conclusion, does the Redline offer anything different than what you would normally expect from a conventional type oil? In my opinion, it really doesn't. It does serve the purpose. It is synthetic. It still offers the same exact performance that the conventional oil provides. It is pricier. It's about $60 for a gallon. So you got to take that into consideration as far as whether or not it's worth it to you to switch to that. So that's the video, guys. If you have any comments or questions or anything, just go ahead and drop those down below. and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.